you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. Obaski Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
A very good evening to you. I'm happy to come your way this evening with a very special program called Truth and Justice with Obaseki Jennifer. Call that Jennifer Obaseki Jennifer. She's a very special lady in the house with me tonight. Tonight you will get to know what Truth and Justice is all about, who Jennifer is, what this show is going to be bringing your way every week. And I can assure you, this will be a show to look forward to weekly. I'm the host, Esther Olufemi. Join me this evening to welcome this very special lady. I call her Iron Lady. She is strong, a very strong woman. I'm not joking. A very strong woman. The senior partner and the director of Obaseki Solicitors and the executive producer of Truth and Justice, Jennifer Obaseki. Good evening, Jennifer.
Good evening, Miss Felicity. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Well,
Trust me, you're a very strong woman. I can say that anywhere. Well, this is Truth and Justice with Jennifer Obaseki.
Yes.
And there are people out there tonight thinking, oh, who is this gorgeous ebony, sitting in front of our TV tonight? Who is Jennifer Obaseki?
Well, I'm the mother of 5 wonderful kids.
Wow.
And I'm also the proprietor and founder of Obaseki Solicitors, which is a law firm, an award-winning law firm based in East London, in the heart of Hackney. We've been there for going 14 years now.
Wow.
And to my pleasure servicing the community and generally people who need legal advice and assistance. And,
Wow.
We've been very successful in our areas of work, mainly being property, immigration, and other areas of litigation, and doing some very successful and important groundbreaking cases. But what really I enjoy most is seeking out justice for people who need it.
Wow.
So
I was coming to that, really. I was coming to that,
yes,
really.
Jennifer Obaseki is just a simple mum who does her job and loves her job with passion, but wants to try and make sure that those who are seeking justice get it.
Wow, interesting. Your hashtag on social media is Mom on the Run.
Oh, yes.
Why is it Mom on the Run? Is it not just Obaseki Solicitors you deal with, and there are other things that keeps you running and makes you Mom on the Run?
Well, whilst we're in the pursuit of truth and justice, yes, as a busy mum, there are many things that keep me running left, right, centre. So I'm usually running towards my kids to get them, or running away from my kids to sort out business. And so my hashtag is Mum on the Run, because I am usually going from one place to another to do things.
Interesting. Mom on the Run. Hashtag Mom on the Run. Okay, you are a woman of many colours. At this season of your life, why Truth and Justice?
Well, I felt it was necessary to bring to the forefront issues and cases that don't often get the attention they do, they deserve on mainstream media. Within our communities, within our homes, our churches, our mosques, we know of families and individuals that are going through real situations that often the mainstream media don't highlight. But at the same time, it's also important as well that we break these issues down for our community. As well as the fact that it's important within the Truth and Justice to find out the truth behind certain social issues.
That's right.
Many people are listening now to such, breaking news such as major members of the cabinet resigning. But do you realize how that affects you? Does it affect you? Do you care? And at the same time, also providing relevant information to people, but most importantly, trying to strive at that pursuit of justice, because you don't get justice first time round. Sadly, we've seen cases where it's taken time, years, for people to get justice. And why does that happen? We saw the case 2 weeks ago where in Gosport, over 93 people died in a hospital at the hands of somebody who was issuing prescriptions without them being justified. And these were prescriptions of opiates that were harmful. Doctors knew, nursing staff knew, people reported, but why has it taken
so long?
Almost 2 decades, despite complaints, complaints to the police, disciplinaries by the medical board, for this case to reach the forefront. And 93 deaths.
Wow.
It's shocking. So when you see cases like this, we want to make sure that justice is served, and justice is served on time. Often we hear the case, justice delayed is justice denied.
No, you're right.
So for many reasons, it's quite important that we give people a platform to send forward their cases, send forward their issues. Let us bring them to the forefront for you. Do not just be a number. Do not let justice be denied.
There is this saying that law is not always fair.
Yes, that's another reason why, as you say, in this season of my life, why this program? It's because sometimes you do see a lot of injustice in the profession. And as lawyers, you think, wow, I studied all this time. Why is there such unfairness? Why is it that there can be so many deaths now of young black men on the streets of London, and it's not considered a health issue? It's not considered a major public
problem.
issue, and certain actions are not being taken. Well, another way to bring such issues to the forefront is through programs like this. There are marches, there are campaigns, yes, but another platform is such like this. And making sure, as I say, that our issues are not sidetracked or spoken about for a short time and then die down. We have prolific problems within our communities, and as I say, this hopefully will serve as a place that issues can be brought to the forefront. You'll be able to talk about
a platform
cases.
to speak out.
Exactly. Send your cases in. Cases where you're being denied, delayed certain resolutions that are affecting you. And at this season of my life, if this is something that I can do, then why not?
People, why not?
Why not? Because you can't help everybody, but you can do certain things that are steps that hopefully will have a large impact. So I saw this as a way to have a large impact, and as well as serve individuals in the community.
So what you're saying tonight is, if there are people out there who have got cases that they could say, oh, this is a serious case of injustice. I've been treated unfairly. Oh, my case has been delayed. I've not been dealt with nicely. They can reach you, and then you put their cases forward. Look into it.
Sometimes
try to get them justice. Is that what we're saying tonight?
You see, sometimes unless you actually speak out, you wouldn't realize that you're one amongst many. So, for example, we look at the hostile immigration environment, and yes, we've spoken and heard all about the Windrush victims, and many of you will know that I've been campaigning for fair immigration policy for over 3 years now. So it's when you start to talk and listen to the voice of not just yourself but of others. There are so many others campaigning for a reduction in immigration fees. There are so many others asking for a minimum processing time. There are so many others asking for children not to pay home office fees. I mean, it's ridiculous that a baby should pay over £1,500. What security checks are you going to do on a baby?
I wonder.
So it's when we are able to accumulate all of these concerns and we see what the top priorities are that are seriously adversely affecting the community or any one individual that has been denied justice, that we can use this platform to table the issue, put it forward, and get support so that you can go through the pursuit to getting justice.
Okay. Before we move forward to the main focus of tonight, in wrapping this up, what should people expect every week from Truth and Justice?
Right. Hopefully, I am a little bit excited. But it is your program. Contact me. Let me know what is topical. Let me know what's affecting you. And I will also be current. I'd like to talk to you about what I feel will impact you, impact your environment, what steps you should take. And at the same time, we'll look at some issues in some depth, such as employment law, how things are going for people that are on 0-hour contracts. We will also look at things such as family law, if you are going through relationship crisis with your partner or with your child, what you should do. At the same time, looking at some other interesting topics, such as what's current at the moment, Brexit, when there's things like local elections. What's the truth about the campaigners? We'd like to have some of the guests here to tell you their truth.
Exactly.
Let you decide for yourself whether you hear their truth or you want to question their truth. Most importantly, going forward, I want to hear from you. This will be an interactive program so that you can call in, ask questions that are poignant.
That's right.
Hopefully we'll be able to answer them all.
Yeah.
But then again, I'm not Google.
You won't have answers to every question.
Neither am I Hansard Law Tech, so I will do my best with my years of wisdom to answer your questions. And what we can't answer right here, we will get back to you. Definitely.
Okay, and if any of your viewers are willing to come live on the show to discuss their case,
Great.
share their experiences of on justice and
Yes.
what they've done to get justice so far.
But the thing is, we have to also remember housekeeping. One important thing is confidentiality.
That's
It's
right.
a live show, guys. So don't reveal too much about yourself, and we'll always follow up with you afterwards if you want us to. That's number one. Security is a first. Secondly, obviously respecting the house, keeping it lovely. Children are still awake at this time, and we would want it to be a family-friendly program.
That's right.
And then thirdly, you know, it's live, so do what you want to. I mean, say what you would like to say, but at the same time, remember that you've got an audience listening to you.
I like that. Remember, you've got the whole nation listening to you, so be careful what you say in
Exactly.
short. All right, we'll go on a short break. Jennifer has been able to, duly introduce Truth and Justice to us. Don't touch that dial. We're back in a sec.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. Hobaski Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020-7739-7549 or go online at www.legalpower.com.
Thanks for staying with us and welcome back. This is Truth and Justice with Jennifer Obaseki. I'm your host, Olufemi Esther Olufemi. We'll be able to, have you speak to us this evening as we go on. If you think you have any question, you want to make any contribution, the studio line will be open. This is the maiden edition. I wouldn't expect, too much, but I know you guys are watching and you will want to be part of the show tonight. So I'm expectant. I won't say I won't expect too much. I'm actually expecting, you to have a chat with us here tonight. Like Jennifer said, we want it to be interactive. So we'd love to hear from you as well. Down to the business of the day, the big monster in the room, Brexit. Jennifer, what is this all about, really?
Brexit means Brexit.
I love that.
Now, this beautiful lady behind me, Mrs. May, is trying to take the UK out of the EU. What does that mean? All she has said is Brexit
means Brexit.
And we have come to see that Brexit means members of her cabinet resigning.
Oh,
Boris Johnson, God.
that was unimaginable.
Is that so?
Seriously.
It's still shocking. David Davis, the Brexit secretary, the person in charge of
It
the
is indeed
negotiations,
Brexit.
resigns. Why are they resigning? What does it mean for Britain? What does it mean for Auntie May?
I'm telling you, and for the common people, the grassroots people.
Now, you see, Britain wanting to leave the EU, the vote came about due to a lot of hostility towards migrants, not just black migrants coming from outside of the Commonwealth and outside of the EU, but actually EU migrants who have come into the UK. So you had that whole campaign stirred up by Nick Farage. You saw the posters of the migrants, people that were, well, scaremongering. Lots of talk about the NHS losing money to all these migrants coming in, migrants taking school places, migrants taking jobs. And now we're in a position where Britain has voted to leave. But what does that mean for you? What does that mean for me? Because one way or another, Britain's going to have a deal done. March is round the corner.
Oh yeah, a few months down the line.
So Theresa May, in her role, has had to try and negotiate Britain's exit. Does it mean we have a hard Brexit?
Or a soft one.
Or a soft one? And you see, those people in her cabinet that are resigning are saying that they want a hard Brexit, total separation from the UK and the EU, for the UK to be totally independent, free from control, free from laws, free from rules. But is that possible? The fact is, because we are enshrined in common goals, projects, and various other trade arrangements,
it's not going to be a divorce.
It's not possible. There cannot be a hard and fast divorce. It's just simply impossible.
Seriously.
In my opinion, Mrs. May is trying to save jobs, trying to save, let's say, industries, because there have been warnings on the continent that people doing business with UK-based companies may have problems with their supply chain. And the last thing you want is companies like Airbus and other car manufacturers leaving the UK, ending their production here and basing it on the continent. Already they have to have distribution chains on the continent. But those are big industry. What about you and I?
Exactly.
What will be the effect of Brexit for you and for me? Will it mean higher costs of our groceries? Because a lot of our produce, even dairy products, come from the EU that service our dinner tables day in and day out. So as you can be aware, if there is a cost, a higher cost on bringing those goods into the country, it means that you and I would be paying that extra cost on the goods here. And to sit down and say, oh, well, Britain can produce these things, Britain just simply doesn't produce enough for demand. And when demand outweighs supply, costs go up. That's a simple, basic rule. And also, when goods have barriers to movement or costs to movement, the cost goes up. That means that they will not be the preferred supplier. So, brand Britain, yes, we have to support the vote. We're in it. We're in it. We're in Brexit, aren't we?
Ooh, yeah.
There's no going back according to countdown.
Yeah.
So we have to support the notion of brand Britain. That's for sure. But for you and I, the ordinary folk, how will it affect us? We don't want to have loss of jobs in the industries. We don't want to have, let me say, a diminishing of UK industry and trade. We need to still be level players with our European neighbours. We need to be competitive. Otherwise, what's going to happen is brand Britain will just be not viable. And Miss May, God bless her, she is trying her best. But there are a lot of people within her cabinet who simply want to put the hard and fast divorce down and want to sever ties completely with Europe. And it's not possible. It's not possible in laws. It's not possible in regulations. It simply cannot happen. The other thing is they don't want to be subject to rulings by the European Court of Justice. Now, the European Court of Justice has delivered such important judgments dealing with your 0 hours, parental leave, so many more, part-time workers protection, equality legislation. So the laws that are passed down from Strasbourg, the European Court, have actually benefited so many within British society.
Absolutely.
And the British Bill of Rights that is going to be in place or coming up and drafted has not been concluded. We are running out of time. So Miss May is also trying to ensure that there's a transitional period that is phased in, that this divorce happens in a phased and fair manner so that people are not so adversely affected.
But seriously speaking, Jennifer, how realistic is this brown Britain?
Brand Britain. It is. We love our tea. We
Really?
love we love our China. There are many things that are produced in the UK that we overlook. You see brands like Dyson. You see brands, that have been around for a long time. But are they enough to sustain the UK economy? And we don't just talk about brand Britain. We have to also think about industries. The number of workers that came from the EU that have helped to boost the economy to where it is now have started to diminish. People are going back
in
home
hundreds.
in hundreds and thousands.
Yeah.
I have spoken to so many people from Eastern Europe, from Poland, and many of them say that out of the circle of friends that were with them a year ago, that possibly it's like 20, only, like 60% have gone back.
Wow.
And that's because their economies are boosted, they're getting good jobs back in their countries of origin, and some have invested here, but many of them are looking to reinvest back home because their economy has become more buoyant. But that leaves a hole in the UK.
Wow. A big one.
A big one. Who is going to actually do the service jobs or the security, cleaning, service, and other mid-terrain jobs, administration jobs that those people serviced? Many of them came in with good qualifications, languages that made them multi-skilled and highly, useful workers within the British economy, helping it to boost. But now that they've gone, who's going to replace them? Is it going to be a worker of the same skill, same language skill? Because many of this, let's say the up-and-coming UK schooled employees don't have the same skill set. They don't have the same languages. Sadly, they don't have that same dynamic. And you see people in the hotel industry, service industries complaining all the time. The other thing is a lot of them have become more savvy. A lot of the workers from the European continent realize that they can come into the UK and do work seasonally, not to come in and pick potatoes or vegetables how they used to come as seasonal workers, but they can come in during times like Ramadan with their SIA badge or their TfL license and do security work or do cab driving work. And they're making better money. They're not necessarily coming in to go and pick fruit and veg anymore. They're coming in to make money and go back and spend it in their countries because they've felt the hostile environment.
I was gonna come to that. Because that's a big one. Immigration crisis due to this very hostile environment, I'll say. What would you say to this? How is this affecting people? How are people really reacting to this?
With the European migrants, if we separate them, the European migrants for almost over a year, had no firm decisions as to what the policy is going to be with regards to their ability to remain in the United Kingdom. Promises were made, but nothing was cast down. Now we know that there's going to be an application process online that they must fill, and it's going to be very simple according to them. However, that has only come to fruition in the last few weeks. And these are people that have packed up, left their countries, been here working, been told that they're not welcome, and for months and months and months had a level of uncertainty. So some have stayed, managed to apply for their residence permits, apply for their dependents' residence permits, and they're going to be okay. Right now, if you are an EU worker that's here that hasn't done that, maybe you feel uncertain, why not do it? Why not give yourself the option so that towards March you're not rushing last minute? Obviously, the Home Office is even quite now deluged with applications, so you don't want there to be a delay on the last minute applications. It is going to be a fairly simple process. You have to show that you've been economically engaged and that you choose the United Kingdom as your primary place of residence and that your dependents equally are doing so. But it's not that straightforward. Relationships break down. People have changes in their circumstances. Maybe you're an EU worker that has not been able to find a job for a long time. Or because maybe you've fallen out with your EU sponsor and you're a dependent, you've not been able to work for some time, or your EU sponsor is not helping you out with documentation. It makes it a little bit difficult. So each case should be looked at individually. And one of the complaints in the hostile environment is that many of the caseworkers at the Home Office were simply not using common sense when assessing some of these applications. But let's be frank, if you don't qualify for something, you don't qualify. However, the Home Office has discretionary power which should be applied to your situations, and they should be fettering that discretionary power in a good and reasonable manner. And if they don't, then you can bring a case against them. However, when we look at Brexit and the fact that, you know, that wasn't really looked at. Migrants were just all classed together. Legal, illegal, EU. So, you know, that hostility perpetrated and permeated through the British society. You had increase in racial attacks, you've had so much racial violence, and that's up and down the country, which is so sad to see. Unfortunately, we still see it going on today, which is something that is regrettable. But at the same time, many people are realizing, hold on a minute, now we have this gap in the economy, who is going to fill it? People within industry are beginning to speak up, which is highly important. And many people realize that many migrants that come here mean business. Many migrants, that's another one of the hashtags I used to use, migrants mean business. Most people that come here and establish or invest here from other countries have come here because they mean business. They haven't come to collect a couple of pounds a week in benefit. They've come and they're contributing not just physically in their work, but in taxes. And that's another hole for the economy. The NHS is also feeling the hole. As we've seen, we've celebrate the NHS on its 70th birthday, which is commendable, remarkable. But when you look at the standards of the UK hospitals in comparison to other countries on the European continent, such as Germany, they don't have queues in Germany. Are you aware? Are you aware? They don't have queues in the public hospitals in Germany because they've invested over and over. But on saying that, we can only go, hopefully, onwards and upwards in the UK. And the NHS is now looking to fill that void, that gap of the foreign workers who have left, who have stopped applying to come. And there's a recruitment drive now for nurses, doctors, and other specialists because of the shortage. So hopefully, people are beginning to realise that migrants is not a dirty word. Most migrants mean business. And with the EU, there is going to be a look towards UK skilled labour, but is that labour going to fill the gap? People are saying, yes, there's a lot of employment at the moment. Even though Britain is seen as being on full or near enough good on figures for unemployment, a lot of it is your 0 hours contract, a lot of it is not stable. And on top of that, a lot of it is through agencies, and a lot is due to the austerity policies that have been in place. So many people are working, but are not actually making a living.
Too many hours of work, but not living. People working 3-4 jobs and still struggling to make ends meet.
And you can imagine, you're struggling to make ends meet, and maybe on top of that, you then have to have £1,500 towards renewing your papers. And while your papers are being renewed, the delay means you lose your job. You're working as a care worker, you put in your application, your boss says you haven't got your decision, you want to see your papers, otherwise we get a fine. And unfortunately, you lose your job. Then becomes an immigration matter that you go to a solicitor with, turns into an employment matter. So yeah, it's a really trying time for people out there. But hopefully, as I say, this program, Truth and Justice, will bring some of these issues to the forefront. Bring your cases forward. Let us see how we can get them galvanized, get solutions for you, get you justice in time.
We'll go on a short break, and when we come back, we'd love to hear from you. What is your idea of Brexit? What is your idea of Brexit? Isn't it?
What's your Brexit?
Me? Brexit. It's just Brexit.
My Brexit would be a lovely, reasonable Brexit where we are staged. It's going to be hopefully a transitional period where there's not massive job losses.
Let's hear from you.
Let's hear from you.
Soft Brexit.
Soft Brexit.
Hard Brexit. What does Brexit mean to you? Do you even care?
Call in.
Don't touch the dial. We'll be back in a minute.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor. you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. Hobaski Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com.
Thanks for staying with us. This is Truth and Justice with Jennifer Obasake. I'm your host, Esther Olufemi. Jen, soft or hard Brexit, really?
Definitely soft Brexit. A hard Brexit will hurt. It's as simple as that.
Because someone is out there watching the show and is asking, what is soft Brexit? What is hard Brexit? What is soft? What is hard and hard?
A soft Brexit, as we've tried to explain, is one that we gently implement policies and take time in stages, and we have a transitional period that enables Britain to survive economically, socially, so that the impact of that separation will not be adverse on the community, on the economy, and on society. You don't want to be going onto your holiday in France and then suddenly you're stopped at the border and they say, where are your documents? You know, you don't want to be getting your goods coming back from France and suddenly you're levied with loads of taxes and fines. You don't want that. I hope you don't want that. But if you want a hard Brexit, you can have that. I don't want that.
I don't hear that. I really don't hear that. So, well, all we should ask for is soft Brexit, really.
Well, it should be soft. At the same time, with the laws, with the legislation, suddenly your protections as a part-time worker, you don't want them just to dissipate and disappear, do you? You don't want to have to not have the Human Rights Act there to protect you, to protect the interests of you and your family, your rights to private life. They need to be defined in the British Bill of Rights. They need to be tested. You know, if the laws are not there and the case laws are not there that we've been relying upon all this time, where are your protections? You don't want to have them suddenly, you know, the rug pulled out from under your feet. You want to be secure and anchored in your life, in your private life, your economic life, and actually having a hard Brexit doesn't guarantee that.
Okay, going by the truth of what is happening around us now, do you think it's going to be soft?
Well, I hope that Theresa May comes out with an amicable solution. She has stated that during this last weekend at Chequers that herself and her cabinet ministers actually sat down and came to an agreement that let goods and agricultural goods move freely between Europe and the UK, and also that actually satisfied the concerns around the Irish border. For many of us who are having business or interest on the continent, one of the places that will become very, let me say, popular will be Ireland. It's a good place to go and register your company or re-register your company. Why? Because it remains in the EU. You'll be able to benefit. You'll be able to not worry about hard or soft and still continue business so far as you have your distribution chain and your agents helping you on the continent. And you see, making sure that that border is free from any barriers is important politically and for the society there. They've had years of turmoil. They've had a reasonable period of peace and settlement. To now set up borders, checkpoints, will create and stir a lot of hostility, and everyone is trying to avoid that. Everybody is.
But how will Theresa May survive this period, this challenge with very important personnel, members of her cabinet resigning? This is
you would expect, you know, that many people would gather behind her, galvanize behind her. It's a difficult task. Even the person that led us to this road, David Cameron, he said, I can't do this. I pass him a baton. And, you know, despite all the different candidates, this Theresa May has taken the baton and she's moving forward. And unfortunately, politics is politics. Even Julius Caesar had knives in his back. You know, it's difficult when you have people drinking cups of tea with you and at the same time throwing four-letter words at you and criticizing you in public. It's sad, but it's the reality of the world we live in. It's the reality of politics. So I think she's going to weather the storm. I don't think that there's any suitable candidates to actually replace her. We look at the Liberal Democrats, and yes, they want another election, but the percentage of the people who voted shows that Brexit is what the public wants. So even if you didn't vote Brexit, whether you were in or you were out or whatever you were, the fact is this is what has been passed within the vote. So what now needs to be done is what's best for Britain. And we would hope that she will have sufficient support to carry that task through and do what's best for Britain. Sad, she may have some casualties in her cabinet along the way. But what she has done so far is try to be as diplomatic as possible. But time's against her. She knows that she has to move forward. March is not that far away.
You're very right. With your daily experience with people who are actually feeling the heat of what's going on at the moment, what would you say is the position of the masses at this point regarding all these happenings around Brexit?
Apart from the legal work, I do some business talks for startup business growth. So a lot of the lectures I've been doing along the way have been centered around GDPR and Brexit, and trying to ask people, have you Brexit-proofed your business?
Brexit-proof your business.
So many people are like, well, what do we do? And you sort of say to them, whether there's a hard or a soft Brexit, you need to Brexit-proof your business. And that means possibly registering a company in Ireland. And that means making sure you've got distribution partners on the continent or agents on the continent. Seeing if you can sign up agents to help move your business forward on the continent, whether there's tariffs, barriers, or whatever there's going to be. If you wait, the situation will control you and you won't be able to control your situation. So you have to get your plan B in play. It's as simple as that. If you don't get your plan B drafted, prepared, and ready to move, there's going to be problems. And, we just hope that Mrs. May manages to make sure that there is this free movement of goods. Britain wants to still remain an attractive place for businessmen and women to come. If I'm going to be producing hair, jeans, anything that I think, okay, there's a UK market for my product, do I establish in the UK? Or do I establish in Romania? Where I'm still in the EU and my labour is going to be cheaper. The land and property costs for renting or using buildings to create my product is going to be easier. There's going to be no barriers to distribution. So Britain has to have enough to make it attractive and enough to make sure that if you're producing or doing any business and services here that transcend to the European continent, there are actually going to be no barriers to your trade that make your goods uncompetitive.
So the labour market is not going to remain the same, is that what you're saying?
Well, basically, it's the attraction. Britain, is it going to be an attractive enough place for investors to come?
So what will it take to make it attractive?
Well, the fact is, we have to make sure that we are competitive, that if you produce goods in the UK, there's not going to be barriers in the movement of your goods to other countries. If there's going to be because we're outside of the EU, there's going to be additional tariffs for the good to pass from one border through to another country. It means it's going to make it uncompetitive.
That's right.
So you have to think, okay, Britain has 67 or odd million people, but the European continent has how many billion people? Where do you do business? So, making sure there are no barriers, making sure they can strike good individual trade agreements. Imagine now if the UK set up a trade agreement with the UK in relation to fabric. It would then think, oh gosh, yes, there's be an opening and a channel for people who are in the fabric industry to think, okay, how do I get my lace, my Ankara, my Ashoke across to the UK and have this bonus or this beneficial trade deal help me and my business boom, growth. People are looking for growth. People are not looking for headache.
Wow. So with free movement of goods and services, it would be easy for people to live in the UK?
not just live.
And
You
still-
can come and invest. There are
and
ways
still-
that you can invest,
Mm.
but the fact is to establish your business.
So that's what I'm saying. So live here, do business there. Live there, do business here.
Yeah,
Ah,
UK
ah,
is a good base for business, but it will not be a good base if there will be barriers to the goods. That's just the fact.
And that we are not sure where we stand
Well, we hope
at the moment.
if what Miss May has said with regards to what she has negotiated this weekend comes to fruition, then there is a chance, and a good chance, that we won't be so adversely affected. The boat won't be rocked. The UK economy won't feel the rock that hard. But there will be a slight, not more than a slight, there will be some disruption, but not much. She's trying to avoid disruption.
Okay.
And that's what's important. Disruption to the economy is not good. We've had the warnings from the Bank of England, warnings from industry, and people who want to ignore those warnings, well, it's not worth the risk, because if the warnings come to fruition, it's going to be jobs, it's going to be economic problems, and she's just trying to avoid that.
Yes, it's still talking about the immigration crisis, the issue of families being separated from one another due to it's another heartbreaking one. What will you say about this?
You know, as I say, the Brexit vote led to an increment in the hostile environment, but it started before Brexit. When we look at the hostile environment, even when Miss Theresa May was, Home Secretary, she was asked to make sure that it was difficult for illegal migrants to stay, live, work in the United Kingdom. Now, the UK has the right and must secure its borders. That's a must. We don't want everybody and anybody who even wishes us harm to come into the UK. That would be wrong. It'd be wrong for them to do that. But you see, when you start saying, I want to make a hostile environment for migrants, not all migrants are the same. Migrants, we talk about illegal, legal, EU, students. Migrants, that word encompasses so many individuals. But when you start talking about hostility against migrants, full stop, without the distinction, it causes things like racism. So the mere fact is, the policies that then came into play, the immigration acts that were passed, didn't really look at the distinction, the individual circumstances. It didn't cater for the mix of migrants that it was led to affect. Now we're in a position where certain members of the family can't afford to make applications. Mums and dads can, but kids can't. So whether that was the objective to sort of start causing rifts between families, additional pressure, stress, severe stress, I'm not sure if that was the main intention. I think they wanted to make it uncomfortable simply for illegal migrants, but not necessarily for everybody.
But unfortunately, it's affecting nearly everybody.
So badly. We look at just the example we gave earlier of the Home Office fees. Fees are just one element. Delay is another element. The fact that the system in itself could not cope for the legislation that was passed. So we had a number of cases going towards appeal, but the appeal courts not being able to list and hear the cases. Some cases were being listed and delayed for up to a year.
2 years.
So you get your court hearing date a year in advance. So what are you supposed to do in that year? Your job usually in jeopardy by that time. Finances, again, in jeopardy at that time. And these are individuals who are paying for the privilege for the appeal. The appeal currently costs £140, and that's for anybody who's appealing that is not an asylum seeker. So if you're not an asylum seeker, maybe you did an application for an extension, a document was missing, or your circumstance had changed slightly, you were looking for the application of discretion in your situation. Unfortunately, you were refused because your case involves your private life, family, kids. You asked for an appeal, but that appeal may take months to be listed. Now that the Home Office is deluged with EA applications as well, maybe if your application is in delay, usually the Home Office standard time is 6 months.
6 months,
They say our standard time is 6 months. Please don't contact us before
On
that
6
time. But you know, once you get beyond 6 months, there's that level of expectation.
Yeah.
There should be a legitimate expectation when you pay over £1,000 that your application will be treated properly, considered substantively, considered in detail, not certain things skipped over, and not only that, will be considered and your documents returned to you in good time. But that, unfortunately, is not happening as it ought to be.
Wow.
Now, you can go to your MP for help because not everybody can afford legal services. So some of the things that you can do if you're affected is, number one, you can try and apply for the fee waiver. The fee waiver has been put in place to help families who cannot afford the immigration fees. Now, unfortunately, one of the primary considerations is you must be homeless or destitute. But again, for you to qualify for the fee waiver, and if you're living in an overcrowded, technically homeless situation, technically homeless means really bad accommodation or overcrowding, you should try and apply. Okay, so it doesn't mean just being street homeless or destitute. It can also mean living in really bad accommodation. You can also get supportive letter from the schools of your children, from social services, to try and help you get that qualification for a fee waiver, because it can make a substantial difference to a family.
Absolutely.
Other than that, if your case is being delayed, you know, you can try and go to your MP. At the end of the day, your MP should be helping you. You live in the borough, you live in the area, you're a constituent. They should be outlining what the Home Office should be doing in the right way and helping you as a constituent to make sure that you are being treated properly by this government body. The other thing you can do is you can complain. There is a complaint system. But unfortunately, you know, as I've said at the beginning, if you don't qualify for something, you don't qualify. There really is no point spending those thousands of pounds on something that you don't qualify for. Why should you? Why would you? It seems very ridiculous to try and do that. Many people, sadly, are given false hope by solicitors. Many solicitors are not doing this type of work day in and day out, and they see the figures involved and giving somebody a little bit of hope, sometimes false hope, and obviously people will spend or find money, borrow money in order to try and obtain the legitimate right to stay in the UK. But if it's not open to you, if you don't qualify for it, then you have to really think twice. You should be asking that lawyer, how are you going to, what basis are you going to make the application for me? What route? Put it in black and white on the basis you're going to make. What percentage chance of success am I going to have? Ask these questions so that you get a proper answer. And if there is no proper answer, be very careful. And you can go to the Law Society and get lists of solicitors who specialise in immigration law. The important thing is, with the Law Society website, you can put in your postcode and it can give you solicitors that are in your area. So it's not really difficult. Obviously, lots of people go by referral. So if somebody's done a good job as well, that's an important thing. But check out solicitors. They should have appropriate qualifications, belong to a professional body, and they should have insurance. They're not allowed to operate just from a cafe or the back room of a building site. You know, their insurance should be on display, their certificates of qualification should be on display, and you should be having a letter of engagement outlining the terms and conditions upon which you are having the instruction given and the services given. All of that should be in a document with the complaints policy and procedure.
People often want to know how to get legal aid to deal with immigration matters. You see people coming, of course, and asking, is there any legal aid for me to do this? You want to educate us a bit on qualification for legal aid.
Legal aid is something that is given by the government, but is means and merits tested. So, means you must not be earning over a certain amount or have a certain amount in your bank account, otherwise you don't qualify for legal aid. Averagely, there's a way you can go online to the .gov website and type in your income, your expenditure, and it will actually tell you there and then whether
Whether
you
you
should
qualify
or
or not.
qualify or not. And then you look at the merits. Each area of law has a defined scope of work that legal aid covers. So when it comes down to immigration, it's a bit difficult. You have to look at the areas. Asylum is covered. Human rights and protections, if it leads to degrading treatment, harm, loss of your life, is also covered. Breaches of Article 8 are also covered, but you've got to know how to present the application. It's not simply, it's going to breach my private life. It's going to breach your private life and breach your right to family life. Going to breach your right to family life, and is it going to be so severe, so unacceptable that it falls within the scope? And then at the same time, you see, it's not all areas. So as much as you may have a strong case, you feel the government has delayed your application and you want justice for yourself, legal aid may not cover you unless it's to bring a complaint against that public body for a failing of their duty. And again, within that same defined space, you must not be earning over a certain amount. You must be so adversely affected that it fits in the scope of a complaint against a public body. Then there's also areas such as judicial review, which is where a lot of law firms have actually been criticised with regards to their taking steps against the Home Office wrongly. So judicial review is when usually used for injunctions to stop people leaving the country. Now, many people unfortunately end up in detention. UK has an awful track record for detaining people for long periods of time. Are you aware of one of the longest cases of people in detention? It's actually 7 years.
7 years in detention.
7 years. And I say this because the poor person was forgotten about. Nowadays, that shouldn't happen, because if you are detained in prison and you are subject to immigration control, so that means you're a foreign national. Normally, if your sentence is beyond 12 months, you're subject to automatic deportation. Now, what should happen is at the end of your sentence, you should be interviewed by immigration, a decision made whether they serve papers on you or not to leave the country, and then action taken to remove you. However, unfortunately, sometimes people fall between the cracks. So at times, when the family gets to know about them, when the Home Office decides to take action, they serve the deportation order, and it's important that the solicitor gets to grasp with the case, manages to see if there's any routes for appeal or there's been unreasonable or wrong treatment of that applicant's case, and make an application to the High Court. However, the judges don't like people coming last minute, saying you've had all this time to make representation.
Why are you just coming?
Why are you just coming? And then they also look into the merits of the case. If the Home Office has made a mistake, yes, there can be the positive outcome and an injunction issued by a judge with directions for the Home Office to revisit the case. But it's important that people are aware that this is an expensive step. And you must go to an expert who's used to doing the applications before spending money, because legal aid is not always available.
Legal aid is not always available. Before we go tonight, I want us to touch on Windrush quickly.
Right. Windrush. Now, many people know what it's all about. It's about people who came in the 1950s and 60s that were actually British subjects. They came into the UK on British foreign passports, and when they came here, many of them didn't take action to change that status because they were British subjects. So people who came in with right of abode, their children, those who accompanied them that didn't have proper documentation, many of them now, in current times, are facing problems. The Home Office have set up a hotline that's able to deal with your situation, but most recently they've introduced a form. Before they said call in, we'll help you. Now they're saying fill this form. The form is difficult. Don't be delusioned that it's going to be just a filling the form and getting a stay. Get help.
That's the
Go
thing.
to a professional, seek the advice. And also, if your family is also facing separation, which you raised before, go to somebody who's experienced.
Get help.
Get help. At Obaseki Solicitors, we do a free clinic every Friday.
Yeah.
And even if you can't go to that free clinic, you can email in. The details are on the screen. You can text, you can call, and they can even, I think, email Esther at obasekisolicitors.com.
Absolutely.
If you email Esther at obasekisolicitors.com, she'll be able to get back to you and help you resolve your case.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being part of this show tonight. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's
My pleasure.
It's the first episode.
The first episode.
People are getting to, know what Truth and Justice is all about. Get in touch with us. Email us. Send us text messages. Topics you want us to deal with. You want to talk to us about your own cases. You want us to see to what you're going through and help you through it. You're a mom on the run like Jennifer is, and you need help. Don't suffer in silence. Help is here. Reach out. Reach out. We are lawyers full of passion, willing to support and help. So let's hear from you. Let's get feedbacks from you. And we would love to have you too on Truth and Justice,
Yes.
to come and share your reality with people.
Feel free to call in.
Yeah.
The other thing is next week, as I've said, we're going to be looking at
Family, I was going to come to
So
that. Shortly.
we will definitely be wanting to hear about your situations. If you're facing situations with social services, take advice early. Don't leave it too late. It's very important as well if you're going through divorce or relationship strains, even domestic violence. Come reach out. We're able to help you. We're able to help you extensively. And unfortunately, there has been a gap with women accessing justice. And one of the things we want to stop is people feeling that there's such a gap between them and achieving justice, and also staying quiet. It's important that you do speak up, reach out.
And if your child has been taken into care and you think it's not right, you want help, you want a way to get your kids back, get in touch. Let's ride with you and get a solution to your questions, to your problems. Well, it will come your way. Same time, same station next week with another interesting episode of Truth and Justice with Obaseki, Jennifer Obaseki. Be good, take care, don't suffer in silence, get help, reach out. Have a good evening. We'll see you next week. Bye.
When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. Hobaski Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020-7739-7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com. When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. Hobaski Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020-7739-7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com. When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. Hobaski Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So, contact us today by phone on 020 7739 7549 or go online at www.legalpal.com. When you're looking for a solicitor to deal with your case, you don't just look for any solicitor, you look for the right solicitor. An expert who knows what he's doing can deal with your case the right way, achieving the best results. Hobaski Solicitors has more than 100 years of specialist experience serving the local community in immigration law, property law, human rights legislation, civil and criminal litigation, family law, employment law, Sharia law, business law, maritime and commercial law, providing professional legal services globally in Africa, Asia and Europe. Be assured we'll be able to deal with your case the absolute right way with results. So,